Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, or DHCP, is a protocol for dynamically assigning IP addresses to devices on a network. It simplifies network administration because the software keeps track of the IP addresses, rather than requiring the administrator to manually assign the IP address, subnet mask, and default gateway to each device on the network. It reduces the possibility of error by improper network configuration. The rules for assigning DHCP. Only one exclude line per DHCP pool when you're configuring it in the router. Exclude the default gateway, the router's address, and any statically assigned addresses such as printers and servers. Excluded addresses must be contiguous numbers. For example, 195.40.10.1 through 195.40.10.5 would exclude a range of 5 addresses. These would be addresses that would be statically assigned to devices in the network. Each network gets a separate pool. The pool must contain the network, the subnet mask, and the default router. Optional entries are for the DNS, the domain name, the WINS, etc. IP helper address. A helper address points to the IP address of the DHCP server or router that is not on your local segment, not on the router that you are connected to. Is added to the configuration of the fast Ethernet port of the router for the LAN which the pool will service. The syntax: IP helper-address 200.10.5.1. This is the address of the closest serial interface of the router containing the DHCP pool. You're pointing toward that address to get help. Configuration example: router 0, config prompt, IP DHCP excluded -address 195.40.10.1 through 195.40.10.5. We're excluding this range of 5 addresses. IP DHCP pool battle lab, and the name of the lab is case sensitive. Now you notice that the router prompt changes to DHCP-config. We're going to add in our network, the 195.40.10.0 network with the subnet mask of 255.255.255.224. This lets us know we're going to have a range of 32 addresses for this network. Default-router 195.40.10.1. That is the gateway address. That's the address of the fast Ethernet port of that router. And an optional DNS-server 180.75.60.4. Like I said, that's an optional entry that's not necessary. Then you type exit. We will be assigning DHCP pools in router 0. 2 pools. One for network 148.10.10.0/24 and one for 158.10.10.0/24, which is on router 1. Router 1 will not have a DHCP pool, so it will need the IP helper-address command entered on the fast Ethernet interface to point to the serial interface of router 0 to obtain help when it gets the DHCP request from one of the PCs so that it does not discard the packet. So first off, we start up by going to our desktop PC, terminal, prompt, router, Cisco, enable password, Cisco, config T. At this point, we're going to exclude our addresses. We're going to exclude the address for our router, our switch, and our printer. We're going to exclude just 3 addresses at this point in time. So we go IP, DHCP, excluded addresses. Excluded -address is the command. If you don't remember the dash, you can hit the tab key after EX and it'll fill it out for you. This will be a range of addresses. Now we're going to give our pool a name. We're going to call it R0. And then we give it the network that we're going to support. And last but not least, we got to go default router. This gives the default gateway address to that PC, because every PC needs an IP address, a subnet mask, default gateway. This would be the address of the router. If we wanted to, we could go DNS and put a DNS server address in. Let's go ahead and do that just for this example. DNS server, and we're going to put the address of the server over here. Do copy run start. And we're going to close this down. Minimize the PC. We're going to come over here and we're going to cable up that PC. Now it'll take a couple minutes for it to sync up and go green with the switch. But what we'll do is go over to router 1. Go into the terminal prompt there. Go into the router here. Log into it. Go into global config mode and interface the fast Ethernet 00. And here's where we're going to put the IP helper dash address of the 200.10.5.1 or .2, whatever the address was of the other PC. And I need to spell helper right. Do copy run start. And close this one down. By now, PC1 should have his IP address when we go in and get it. And he's got his IP address of 148.10.10.4, the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, his default gateway 148.10.10.1, and the DNS server over here on the server on the side over there. So we're going to cable up our remaining PCs. Let them sync up. As these synchronize and go green, we'll go back and check to make sure they got their addresses. There's one, come up, okay. Desktop. And it's got his address of the .5. Got his DNS server, he's getting all the information he needs. Check his next one out here, the .6, he's good to go. He's got his in there. This concludes this exercise.